What if I told you that your body has a built-in self-cleaning system, one that destroys damaged cells, strips out toxic debris, and literally reverses the biological clock, and that most people have accidentally turned it off forever? This system is called autophagy. For decades, scientists believed the only way to activate it was through prolonged fasting. Starve yourself for 16, 18, maybe 24 hours. Only then would your cells flip into repair mode. But here's what the latest research is revealing, and what almost no one is talking about yet. There are 7 specific foods, 7 compounds hiding in plain sight on grocery store shelves. Each one activates the exact same molecular pathways that fasting does, without skipping a single meal. This isn't wellness influencer content. This is documented, peer-reviewed science. And by the end of this video, you are going to look at your kitchen completely differently. Food 1. Black coffee. Let's start with something you might already be drinking, but probably not getting the full benefit from. Black coffee. Not because of caffeine, because of a compound called chlorogenic acid. When you drink black coffee in a fasted state, or even just before your first meal of the day, chlorogenic acid directly activates AMPK. That's the cellular energy sensor, the same enzyme that switches on during intense fasted exercise, the same enzyme that suppresses mTOR and opens the autophagy pathway. Research published in the journal Autophagy confirmed that coffee consumption, black, without additives, measurably increases autophagic flux in human liver cells. The effect begins within 30 minutes of drinking it. But here is the critical word: black. The moment you add milk, cream, or any sweetener, you trigger the cephalic phase insulin response, a preemptive insulin release that reactivates mTOR and closes the autophagy window before it even opens. Black coffee is an autophagy activator. Coffee with anything in it is not. That's the line. Food 2. Extra virgin olive rutin. Most people think of olive oil as simply healthy fat. What they don't know is that it contains a compound called oleocanthal, a natural phenol that directly inhibits mTOR activity. Researchers at the Salk Institute described oleocanthal as mimicking the effects of rapamycin, one of the most studied longevity compounds in existence. Oleocanthal suppresses porture. mTOR suppression activates autophagy. This is a documented molecular pathway, not a metaphor. But here is the detail that separates olive oil that works from olive oil that doesn't. Heat destroys oleocanthal entirely. High-temperature cooking eliminates the compound before it ever reaches your cells. Extra virgin olive oil consumed cold, drizzled over food, used in dressings, eaten raw, preserves its autophagy-boosting properties. The same oil heated in a pan does not. Cold, extra virgin, that is the version your cells can actually use. Before we go further, if this is giving you a completely different picture of what food actually does inside your body at the cellular level, hit the like button right now. It tells the algorithm this kind of science-backed content is worth showing to more people. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, because the next video in this series goes even deeper. Food 3. Green tea. Green tea contains a polyphenol called EGCG, epiglycating gallate. This compound has been studied more extensively than almost any other food-derived molecule in the context of autophagy and cellular aging. EGCG directly inhibits a protein called class IPI3K, part of the signaling cascade that leads to mTOR activation. When PI3K is inhibited, mTOR quiets down. When mTOR quiets down, a protein called PCLN1 activates. PCLN1 is the protein that initiates the autophagy identification cycle, the same process that begins at hour 12 of a fast. A study published in Autophagy in 2014 showed that EGCG induced autophagy in multiple human cell lines, with the effects strongest in cells under metabolic stress. Green tea is most effective consumed during a fasting window or before your first meal. 2 to 3 cups of properly brewed whole leaf or high-quality bagged tea, where EGCG content is intact and active. Not capsules, not flavoring, brewed. Food 4. Turmeric plus black pepper plus fat. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has been studied for decades for its anti-inflammatory effects, but its autophagy mechanism is completely separate and almost never discussed. Curcumin inhibits the Pi3K/mTOR signaling pathway directly, suppressing mTOR at the molecular level through the same upstream pathway that EGCG targets. Research published in Molecular Cancer Therapeutics documented that curcumin-induced autophagy is measurable, dose-dependent, and occurs in both healthy and cancerous cell lines. But there's a problem. Curcumin has notoriously low bioavailability when consumed alone. It passes through the digestive system before your body can absorb a meaningful dose. Two solutions the research actually supports. First, black pepper. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%, according to a study in Planta Medica. Second, fat, specifically olive oil. Curcumin is fat-soluble. Consuming it with fat dramatically enhances uptake. Turmeric with black pepper and olive oil is not a wellness trend. It is the biochemically optimized delivery system for one of the most potent natural mTOR inhibitors available in food. Food 5. Spermidine. Of all 7 foods on this list, spermidine has the most direct and specific autophagy activation mechanism. It doesn't work through AMPK. It isn't an indirect mTOR suppressor. It directly induces autophagy through a pathway researchers at the University of Graz identified as completely independent of the nutrient-sensing pathways that fasting uses. Spermidine is a polyamine found in high concentrations in wheat germ, aged cheeses like Parmesan, shiitake mushrooms, and soybeans. It works by inhibiting a protein called EP300, a histone acetyltransferase that normally keeps autophagy genes switched off between meals. Spermidine unlocks those genes. A landmark study published in Nature Medicine showed that spermidine supplementation extended lifespan in yeast, worms, flies, and mice, and the lifespan extension was entirely dependent on autophagy activation. When researchers removed the autophagy genes, spermidine's longevity effect disappeared completely. More recent human data from a study of 800 adults found that higher dietary spermidine intake was associated with lower overall mortality and reduced cardiovascular disease. A clear dose-response relationship. More spermidine, less biological aging. 2 tablespoons of wheat germ daily. Shiitake mushrooms, 3 times a week. A small serving of aged Parmesan with meals. These aren't supplements. They're whole foods with the highest naturally occurring spermidine concentrations available from a regular diet. Food 6. Berberine. Berberine, found in barberries and Oregon grape, is the compound longevity researchers have started calling natural metformin, and the reason is specific. Metformin, the most widely prescribed diabetes drug in the world, is being studied intensely for its longevity properties. The mechanism relevant to aging is AMPK activation. Berberine activates AMPK directly and powerfully through a pathway almost identical to metformin's. AMPK suppresses mTOR. mTOR suppression activates autophagy. The pathway is the same as fasting, triggered by a food compound rather than the absence of food. The 2020 review in Frontiers in Pharmacology identified berberine as one of the most potent natural autophagy inducers currently documented, noting its effect on mTOR signaling was comparable in magnitude to pharmaceutical AMPK activators. Barberries, small tart berries used widely in Persian cuisine, are the primary food source. Even small amounts consumed consistently deliver meaningful berberine doses that activate the autophagy pathway. Food 7. Resveratrol. Resveratrol, found in red grapes, blueberries, and dark chocolate, works through a completely different mechanism than everything else on this list. It activates a family of proteins called sirtuins, specifically sirtuins. Sirtuin activation doesn't directly suppress PIT/TOR. Instead, it activates a parallel autophagy pathway through FOXO transcription factors, the longevity genes that fasted exercise activates. SIRT1 activation specifically upregulates BCLIN1 expression, the same protein that initiates the autophagy identification cycle at the start of a fast. More BCLIN1 means more autophagy initiation. More autophagy initiation means faster cellular repair, even in a fed state. Resveratrol is most bioavailable in whole food form consumed with fat. Red grapes or blueberries eaten after a meal containing olive oil. Dark chocolate at 85% cocoa, which contains meaningful resveratrol alongside flavonoids that independently support AMPK activation. Clausing. Here's what ties all 7 together. Every compound on this list activates autophagy through one of 3 documented pathways: AMPK activation, direct mTOR suppression, or sirtuin activation. These are the exact same three pathways that fasting and fasted exercise use. The difference? Food-derived compounds can activate them during your eating window, in the hours when autophagy would normally be fully suppressed. This does not replace fasting. A 16-hour fast activates autophagy more deeply and more systemically than any food compound alone. But for the hours between your first and last meal, these 7 foods keep elements of cellular repair running in the background. Black coffee before your first meal. Cold extra virgin olive oil on your food. Green tea between meals. Turmeric with black pepper and fat. Wheat germ or shiitake mushrooms for spermidine. Barberries for berberine. Red grapes or dark chocolate in the afternoon. 7 compounds. 7 different molecular mechanisms. One outcome, a cellular environment that spends more time in repair mode and less time accumulating the biological debris that accelerates aging. Which one of these surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to understand exactly what your cells are doing at every stage of autophagy, how deep the repair goes when these compounds combine with your fasting window, that video is right here. Watch it next. Your body is designed to repair itself. Now you know how to let it. Short